Hi, welcome to another edition of our Paterno Presser. Cory, Geiger, Neil, Rudel. Not a lot of news today, really, from Joe's press conference. We'll get to that in just a moment. But looking back at Saturday, Neil, it was a win, and any win is a win. But kind of feels like a loss a little bit because they just played so poorly on both sides. I mean, on offense. The defense was great, no doubt. But you gauge where this program is 3 weeks into the season. Yeah, they're 2-1, but do you feel at all like they've made a lot of progress?
Well, I think defensively they definitely have. I think they're a much better defensive team than they were at any point last year. So yes, and the fact that they answered the challenge of turnovers last week against a Temple team that I think has a pretty good defense anyway. But clearly all the mistakes that you're making in offense, and the kicking game has sprung a huge leak. So I'll be curious. He did leave the door open today to maybe Anthony Farah getting an opportunity as a place kicker.
Yeah, kicking game, just a huge mess. And to me, the issue with that is if your offense is not going to score a lot of points, your defense is going to have to keep you in a lot of games, which they should be able to do. You've got to capitalize in the kicking game. And we've seen nothing so far that leads us to believe that once they get into Big Ten play and they've got a tough game where it could come down to a field goal or two or a key punt in the fourth quarter, that's a big issue that because I don't think the offense is just going to get markedly better and they're going to be winning games by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Right. They get very little out of the return game, although Derek Moy back there gave him a 30-yard return against Temple. I would look for Ficken this week. You've given Evan Lewis his chance. You came back to him against Alabama after he missed the one against Indiana, a couple against Indiana State. So, I'd be curious what Ficken, he's on scholarship. Let's see what he can do. And maybe they'll give Farah an opportunity as well. The other problem is they've had 2 punts blocked in the last 4 games, and Indiana State was right there. I don't know how they didn't block one in the opener.
Well, the big news, I guess, if there is any news, is that there is not news on the quarterback situation. Joe said both are going to continue to play. He said that he doesn't really know what he's looking for, waiting for in the quarterback competition. So, it would have been great to see Bolden take charge, step forward on Saturday, but he did not. McGloin played better on Saturday than Bolden did, but Bolden did lead the game-winning drive. So basically, here we are in late September. We're in the exact same boat we were before week 1, with no one really having a good idea where this quarterback situation is going.
I think Joe has gotten more indecisive and softer over the years on some of these tough decisions. And, the more he talked about the quarterback, because he spent some time today on it, the more he talked about obligation and, he's dealing with people's lives. So, once upon a time, he would have made a decision and run with it, and wherever the chips would have fallen where they may. I think he feels that, he doesn't want to totally commit to Bolden because of how Bolden and his family carried on. This is just how I'm interpreting it after the bowl game. But he also feels an obligation to them, not necessarily because they carried on, but because the kid is here and he played and he started. So I think he's very much conflicted.
It's called the greater good for the most people. So if you feel some kind of obligation to Matt McGloin or to Rob Bolden or to Rob Bolden's dad, and you're hurting your football team, I think that's what's happening. He's got to make a decision for the greater good of more than 100 guys out here, as opposed to hurting one kid's feelings.
Except, and I get back to this, I thought Saturday, I don't think either of these guys were, maybe worthy of play. I don't think either of these guys has separated themselves to the point where they're, it's clear that this person is the starter. So, and that's why I'm curious when one guy really comes out and plays well. Like Bolden didn't play well early, he went to McGloin. He came back to Bolden at the beginning of the 3rd quarter because he'd been starting Bolden. I'm curious what will happen if Bolden comes out and really looks good for 3 series in a row.
Joe's press conference today, he walked in without the cane for the first time, which was a good sign, but really struggled hearing a lot of the questions again. We haven't seen that come up all season, but this was the first time he really struggled, did not pick up what a lot of people were saying, and it was one of those kind of troubling situations again, to be honest with you. I mean, yeah, he looked better walking-wise, but I don't know, I just got the sense, kind of like we did a good bit last year, Neil, that just confused about certain things, not sharp mentally about certain things.
And he also admitted that he really hasn't looked at much tape of Eastern Michigan at all yet. So I'm assuming he thinks this is kind of an automatic win. And I think it's unfortunate that there's a Joe watch at all times that takes so much deflection away from the players. When he walked in today, I thought, oh, he's probably going to be on the sidelines this week. When he walked out, I said, there's no way he's on the sidelines this week. He really very ginger admitted that coming down, trying to go down the steps wasn't good. So I think he can be upstairs again.
All right, Eastern Michigan lost 31-3 to Michigan. This is the most one-dimensional team Penn State will play this year. They are a total running team. They don't throw the ball at all. They average 68 yards passing so far. Now, they were able to move the ball a little bit on Michigan. So when you look at this game, what's your score prediction? Do you think Eastern Michigan can provide any kind of real challenge?
I always look at, do you pick Penn State to cover the spread? Well, I'm 3-0 picking Penn State, but I'm 0-3 in working with the line. And you make your pick on Sunday, and I thought Penn State would probably be 18, 19, 20-point favorite. They're 28.5, which, Eastern Michigan is 0-41 against BCS schools on the road. I went ahead and picked Penn State 37-6. I just can't put stock in an Eastern Michigan. This is just a win. I think there's a lot of frustration in the Penn State program on offense, and most of it, I think, will be unleashed this weekend. I think they'll fix. Their defense will continue to play well, and I think the kicking game will do better.
Yeah, I think Penn State's going to be able to stop the run no matter who they play this year. If you're going to beat Penn State, and they are a beatable defense, it's going to have to come through some balance and through the air, and Eastern Michigan can't throw the ball. So I've got 34-3. Maybe you get a few first downs.
We're
Eastern
both
Michigan.
on 31.
We're not going for Nitwit of the Week, which you're behind.
Mike Irwin's 38-7.
You guys are behind Casey Kent's 3-0.
How does
that happen?
He's got 3 balls.
So yeah. Well, I'm not touching that. So all right. So 34-3, 37-6. So we both expect a blowout again. As Neil said, this is a rental game. Eastern Michigan's going to come in here. They're going to take their money and they're going to get destroyed. But maybe Penn State can build some kind of offensive confidence or cohesion this week at the very least.
Well, they're going to need to. One thing Joe said that kind of bothered me, and he said he gave Jay credit for going for the 4th and 1 down at the 3. When they initially they sent the field goal unit out, they called timeout, and the people I talked to said everybody wanted to go for that, and I get that Joe is trying to prop up his son. That's been going on for a long time. But that bothered me because Galen said that we wanted to go for it. They felt that the offense and the offensive staff needed that confidence from Joe. Now, I wasn't in the booth.
Well, look, call a spade a spade. That's one of the things that a lot of people get really, really upset about with Joe and Jay, because there's this sense from a huge portion of the fan base that one of the reasons Joe is still coaching is so that Jay can have a job. One of the reasons he's still coaching is that maybe Jay could take over for him at some point here. Yeah. So this whole sense of, as you said, propping up Jay, that's why do that?
Joe fuels that.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfortunate, and I really don't believe that he was the only guy. Now, I was not in the booth, but talking to everybody afterwards,
right.
They all said everybody wanted to go for it.
All right. For Neil Rudel, I'm Cory Geiger. Thanks so much for tuning in.